Hello, you beautiful souls. Happy Scorpio season and new moon in Scorpio. In true Scorpio fashion, I am trying something a little different this time and I'm in hiding. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have noticed that I've been taking some time off and really going within. Scorpio is transiting my 12th house of the hidden realms, so I've really been going inward and really been retreating, and this time is always so magical for me personally. Every year during Scorpio season, last year I went to Tulum, a couple years back I went to an ashram in India. It's really a time for me to go within and to remember the magic of the season, Scorpio season, which is the death, rebirth, and transformation season. Scorpio rules the 8th house in astrology and the zodiacal wheel. It's all about allowing the things to fall away, to disintegrate into the earth. If you might have noticed, I have some fall leaves here, and in the northern hemisphere, in this time of year, it's my favorite time of year. It's so magical. The air is super crisp and the leaves just turn bright colors. And right now we're at peak here in New York and everything falls down to the ground and is being composted into the earth so that the soil can be enriched and renewed in time for the spring. And this is really the topic of Scorpio season. It's a time for yourself to fall in, to allow the things that you don't want to carry with you in the wintertime to be composted and for you to transform. And I think the theme for everybody this month, this season, is to keep moving forward, no matter what that means for you specifically and what area of your life you feel this the most. If you follow the whole house system, this will be the house in which Scorpio is for you. And I've actually talked to a lot of astrologers about this Placidus versus whole sign house system. It's really whatever resonates with you and whatever you feel is going through your life in this moment. Sometimes it'll be Placidus, sometimes it will be whole sign. So just take what resonates with you and leave the rest. A lot of people have been asking me as well if they should watch their sun, moon, or rising. Specifically, if you want to know in which area of your life this is going to impact, I suggest watching your rising sign first. And then if you have time, you can watch your sun, which will explain more of your career and your outward life, and then the moon sign for your more emotional private life. Now, before I go forward, I just wanted to make mention and make note of a few things. So every Wednesday, I host a podcast called Awaken and Align, and this coming Wednesday, November 3rd, which is the same day that this will probably post, my friend and astrologer will be on to talk about the November 2021 astrology. So if you want to learn more about what's to come, you want to check that out. And I also post the video form here on YouTube. And if you feel that my work resonates with you in any way, I would love for you to subscribe to get notifications, like this video. I love reading your comments. I love personally the ego confirmation that I'm doing something that impacts one person. And that's what Spirit told me about a month ago. It doesn't matter about the amount of followers or likes. If you can just impact one person, you just have to keep going forward. So that's what I learned during Mercury retrograde in Libra. And now with Mercury going out of its shadow on November 3rd, the same day as well, I feel that no matter who this reaches, it's meant for you to hear at the moment that you're watching this. And if you want to support my work, you can go follow me on Instagram. I am Laura Chung, or at Awaken and Align, which is my podcast and platform. And if you want to go deeper and you want to be in a community, I lead circles every week, and there's 3 different tiers for membership. The first tier is you just attend one full moon circle a month, and it's $7.77 to attend that circle. And then the next tier is the High Priestess tier. So the first tier is the Magician, the second tier is the High Priestess, and it's 2 circles a month, the new moon and the full moon. And that's $11.11. And then the highest rate is the Empress tier, and these go by the tarot cards, is 4 circles a month. We meet once a week. You get the full and the new moon, and then the in-between circles we practice magic, divination. I talk about the astrology that's happening in the moment, and we talk about different things. Past circles we've talked about astrocartography, where you're meant to live and travel based on your astrology, birth chart, and the world. We talked about human design. We've talked about different things that are related to spirituality and your own personal growth. And that's $33.33, so you can choose your membership rate. But people always ask me, where can I join a community, and when can I, how can I get involved in these full moon and new moon circles? And that is where where they are. And then also, if you want to have a personal reading with me and my Reiki offerings, I link all of that information in the description box. And if you feel called to my work and you want to donate, I will link my Venmo and my PayPal. And I'm doing all of this and sharing my work and what I do because it's something that during Scorpio season and going within, I've realized that I need to step into what I'm truly meant to be doing in this lifetime, which is using my spiritual gifts, all of the different facets of my experience and everything that I've done in my life up to this point to help people gain more clarity on their lives, especially during these times when it's so critical for us to have discernment and to really make decisions based on our highest timeline. So thank you so much for listening to all of that. I just wanted to extend the open door, the portal for you if you wanted to go deeper into any of the offerings that I have. But obviously we're here for the new moon in Scorpio, which is happening on November 4th at 12 degrees of Scorpio. So you want to see where Scorpio is in your personal natal chart, and you want to see if you have any personal planets in Scorpio or Taurus or any of the fixed signs around 3 degrees before and after 12 degrees, so 9 degrees or 15 degrees. And the fixed signs are Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, and Leo. And I forgot your name, and I'm so sorry. I meant to look it up before I started recording this, but she mentioned, and I hope I'm getting your pronoun right, she mentioned that she wanted me to talk more about the nodal axis change from Gemini to Sagittarius to Taurus and Scorpio. And I'm going to do that more in depth in a different video. But there's going to be a call, an invitation for all fixed signs to change. And that is counterintuitive to what fixed signs are, because fixed energies are the energies that sustain energy. If you think about the middle of each season, they are the ones to keep the energy going, the flame burning. So Scorpio is a fixed sign. It's a fixed water sign. In traditional astrology, classical astrology, it was ruled by Mars, and in modern astrology, it is ruled by Pluto. Once you listen to the November 2021 horoscope, you'll get a sense of the energies of November, which is radical change. You might already be feeling these energies because we're moving into eclipse season, but this is the month where if you are not moving forward, and take that how it resonates, because some people move forward by their emotional body. Some people take action through their thoughts. Some people move forward through behavioral changes. So take that as it resonates, because not everybody is meant to be taking action at this time in the way that we understand it. But this season is really asking us to break free of the stagnancy, the fixed energies that we have been feeling for the past maybe year, 2 years, or whatever season or cycle you're in. It could possibly be longer than that. So it's really asking us during this season to surrender, because Scorpio is all about just allowing the things to change and just observing. And then once we get into Sagittarius season and then the solstice, that is the time when we'll have a lot more clarity as well once the dust settles from the eclipses. One astrologer asked me recently if I had any practices for eclipse season. And really for eclipse season, it's not really about doing anything. It's not about manifesting or setting intentions. It's allowing the universe and spirit and the divine to intervene for our highest good. So this new moon is almost the beginning of that season, of that intention for you to allow the things to occur in the way that they're meant to. And for us as humans, we love control, and for us to have the patience necessary for the season to have discernment too, of like what's meant for us and what is meant to stay in the past. So just to refresh your memory, a new moon is when the moon and the sun conjoin and they're conjunct at 12 degrees of Scorpio. And at the time of this new moon, the moon and the sun will be opposing Uranus and Taurus at the exact degree, 12 degrees. So you want to look at your Taurus house, which is exactly opposite your Scorpio house. And Uranus is the planet of awakening. It's shock. It's an aha moment. It's some surprising revelation that you're going to get. And new moons are dark. It's something that has been possibly buried deep inside that you were either conscious or unconscious about, because Scorpio is the underworld, that now you're going to see very clearly through this Uranus and Taurus. And we're going to go through each of the rising signs, so I can give you a little hint as to what this could be. But again, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, which is the god of the underworld, Hades. And Scorpio season asks us to go deep into our shadow realms, into the underworld, of really finding out the truth of the matter. And sometimes that happens in a very, how can I say this? In a very not so pink and butterfly with a ribbon on top of it kind of way, but in a very shocking way. In a way that forces us to see. And other times it's a lot more subtle than that. A lot of times it's somebody giving us a message, or somebody being very blunt and truthful about how they feel. Or maybe this is you. Maybe you feel like you need to just be honest with somebody for the first time. Scorpio rules topics like death, sex, money, things that are hidden, things that we hold very secretively, that we don't necessarily share to just anybody. And the opposite sign in Taurus is very earthly things. It's also about money. It's ruled by Venus, very sensual. So Taurus and Scorpio both talk about money in different ways, talks about exchange in different ways, power dynamics. So we're going to talk a lot more about these topics going forward, because the nodes of the moon are going to change soon, by the end of December, moving into January. But I just wanted to give you a preview, because this season and this month of November is really a preview for what you're going to experience and the topics that you're going to face in 2022. And just so that you're aware, not to skip ahead, but December 4th of 2021 is the last of the Sagittarius Gemini eclipse cycle. So we're all closing a chapter in some area of our life. So we've been talking a lot about Gemini and Sagittarius axis. So you probably at this point know what houses those are, what areas of your life that entails. But we're closing that chapter on December 4th, 2020, give or take a month before and after. And this is kind of the beginning of the next chapter in 2022. It's interesting though, because we do have a lunar eclipse on November 19th in Taurus, which is a full moon eclipse. So it does indicate some kind of closing of a chapter before we even start a new one. And we'll talk more about that in 2 weeks when we talk about the lunar eclipse in Taurus. But again, I wanted to put all of this out there because this is really setting the scene and the precedent for what you're going to experience in the month to come, and also the themes of Scorpio season going into Sagittarius season and for the rest of 2021. So the first card I have here just collectively is the Santa Muerte card, the death card. And I'm actually filming this on Dia de los Muertos and Halloween on October 31st, where I feel the air, the veil is super thin. I feel that my dreams personally, again, Scorpio is transiting my 12th house of the hidden realm. I've just been getting a lot of visitations and having some paranormal experiences, but that's just an everyday occurrence in the life of Laura Chung, so nothing abnormal there, but I just wanted to put this into your awareness. And if you've been watching this channel since the beginning of September, I've been using this deck. I've been feeling called to this deck because I really believe, so I have my North Node in the 8th house, which is the Scorpio house, and I feel that I've always had a different relationship with death, and I've had a different understanding with death, and I feel with death comes a rebirth. Death is a necessary process of nature. It's a natural cycle of nature, but American, Western, modern society is so afraid to talk about this topic, and I can only speak for the American experience because this is where I grew up, but I just see oftentimes people are in denial about our inevitable, our body's inevitable death, moving out of our physical bodies and knowing that our souls and the part of us that is infinite. And this is what I feel is truly magical about Scorpio season, is that you go so deep into your fears and you go so deep into your underworld that you realize that the truth of the matter is that you cannot die. Your soul is infinite, and when you are part of spirit and when you integrate with spirit, you become that oneness, that law of oneness. And this is why I also love tarot, because it talks about the law of oneness, the law of one, which is the first universal law. I also did a video and a podcast episode about the universal laws that I'll remember to link down below so you can watch it. But it is one of the most important laws of the universe because it shows us that our lives here on earth are temporal, but we are infinite. And I think a lot of people are afraid of death because they feel like this incarnation is all there is. And, you know, there's a lot to do with the religion that you were brought up with and all that stuff that I won't get into because that's a whole other topic. But also I just want to point your attention to the way that this artist depicts this death card, because as you can see here, she is pregnant. And this is what I love about death, is because when something dies, again, something else forms, something else is rebirthed into being. And this is why I love Scorpio season, because while many of us might feel like wanting to go within, being secretive about certain things, when we come out of this season, we come out with, you know, being in Sagittarius season, which is all about zooming out of our perspective and seeing the bigger picture and enriching our belief systems. Now we're going to get into the rising signs, and I'm going to pull from the Santa Muerte tarot deck, as you've been seeing me use all month. And then I'm going to pull for you the an archetype for this season. Again, we're specifically going to focus a lot on the new moon, but I also wanted to give you something extra. And I love this archetypes book by Kim Kranz. And archetypes in psychology was was popularized by Dr. Carl Jung. And Dr. Carl Jung, I feel, was a very scorpionic figure. I actually don't think he's a Scorpio, but archetypes is a very Scorpio-related topic. So I thought I can read out of the book and give you more insight into the energies that you are working with this season. So we're going to start with Aries this time and go to Pisces. So I'll see you at your rising sign. Hello Aries rising. The new moon in Scorpio is happening in your 8th house, which is traditionally ruled by Scorpio. It's a transformative house. It's all about death, sex, magic, the occult, mysticism, other people's resources, exchange. It's a house of transformation. So this could be a new beginning, a new intention that you set, that you want to maybe pay off some debt, since Taurus in Uranus rules your 2nd house of value, of finances, of worth. You might have an epiphany with Uranus and Taurus of something that you need to change in terms of what's holding you back from financial freedom. Maybe you need to change the way in which you think about money, in which ways you make money. And you're getting that insight, you're getting that aha moment during this time. Having Scorpio in the 8th house is very deep and very magnetic. So the more you can use mysticism like astrology, tarot, maybe go to see a healer, go to see a tarot reader or an astrologer to help you really navigate these very scorpionic topics, right? Because sex and money and death are things that are a part of our everyday lives, but for some reason became very taboo and not very talked about that much. So maybe this is an intention for you to want to start some practices in spirituality or like the occult, like I was mentioning, and maybe even a new beginning for you to have intimate conversations with your partner, because it does rule intimacy, and having more newer practices, different practices of self-worth work, of self-love work, because again, Taurus rules your 2nd house of your value, what you value, and what you spend your money on can totally transform the way in which you make money as well. So those are just some topics for this new moon in Scorpio. And the tarot card I pulled for you is the 6 of Wands. And the 6 of Wands talks about victory, success, some kind of recognition for all of the hard work that you've done over the course of however long you've worked on this project with. It could be something in terms of a work project or something that you've been working hard on and you're finally getting recognition for that. So I think intuitively, I'm just getting this feeling for you, Aries rising, that the more you can spend time in reflecting on what you value and also the way you exchange, right? Because the 8th house is about exchange, monetary and energetic exchange. What you give is what you give and receive, right? Because it's the number 6, which is a number of harmony and equal giving and receiving. So the archetype card I pulled for you is the Sword. I don't know if this is gonna... Okay, there we go. And let me read for you what this says. Sorry, it's taking me a minute. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna put this one next to it. Okay, the Sword. So this is what the book looks like. It's very beautiful. If you want to take a screenshot of it, let me just see if it's gonna focus. Okay. The knife, the blade, the weapon. To use the sword is to decide. The blade separates one reality from another. The choice is made and all else falls away. If you find the sword in your grasp, you can no longer hesitate. This weapon requires a clear and decisive mind and a willingness to act. An onlooker may think the sword bearer is hasty and violent, but the most compassionate and responsible gesture is one that is honest, swift, and accurate. Our first encounter with the sword is at birth, when the cord we share with the mother is cut. This moment defines our separation from her and begins our journey of becoming ourself. We must make these cuts again and again if we are to grow. Decisions shape our life, and the sword is an infamous shaper of destiny. When light, cutting through to what is essential. When dark, hasty, backstabbing, a dull and painful blade. So this is amazing because I feel with the 8th house, you're gonna be asked to cut away some, you know, Scorpio is the underworld, so you're gonna have to be asked to cut away some of this dark, what no longer serves you. And I love that quote in Harry Potter. I've been watching Harry Potter again. When Sirius Black says to Harry Potter, we all have light and dark, but it's which one we choose who makes us who we truly are. So it is this duality, right, that I also love about Scorpio, that we are all dark as well, and that just denying our shadow and denying our dark doesn't mean that it's not there, because then it becomes projected out. And so for us to really transmute is to go into the shadow and shine our light onto the shadow and have awareness for it. But at the same time, cutting away what no longer serves us, so that you have this victory, that you have this 6 of Wands moment. And as an Aries rising, you are our warrior archetype, the leader archetype, somebody who takes charge. Aries is a fire cardinal sign, also ruled by Mars. So this is a time for you to really take charge and lead the collective into being the leaders that you are. This is it's a Leo card. I forget which planet it is, but it's a Leo card, so it's not afraid to shine brightly. Happy new moon blessings to you, Aries rising. Hello, Taurus rising. Hello, my beautiful bulls. Wow, the focus is going to be on you for the majority of 2022 and your energies. And I have to be honest, Taurus, I have Chiron in Taurus, but I don't have any other planets in Earth signs. And so it's something that I want to definitely embody more of, but not an energy that I feel specifically attuned to. But I do love the way that Taurus is sensual, lives with the 5 senses, lives in the moment. And you've had a little bit of a shake-up with Uranus transiting your 1st house. Uranus is, I would say, the opposite energy of Taurus, because Taurus is an earthbound energy that is fixed. So not dragging you Tauruses, but the shadow side of Taurus is an unwillingness to change. And that's a good thing in some ways, because we need fixed signs like Taurus to sustain energy. But in the other hand, we are trying to make innovation and move the collective forward, with Uranus being such a Promethean energy. And what's been going on with you specifically, you've been having these Taurus, Uranus in Taurus and Saturn in Aquarius squares all throughout 2021. So your sense of self and your willingness to change, your ability to see yourself in a different way, is directly impacted on your career, which is the 10th house, which that's where Saturn and Jupiter are currently transiting for you. I think also in the last, I think it was the full moon video, I spent a lot of time with you, Taurus, because the North Node is obviously going to be transiting your 1st house for the next 18 months. And whenever the North Node or the South Node transits are first house, you feel like you're kind of in this weird vortex that you don't feel like yourself, but then coming out of it, you're going to be transformed in a way that you are different, the way you see yourself and your perspective on the world. And I can say this having the South Node transiting my first house for the last 18 months, 2 years, that I feel different in my body. I feel different in the way I see this world than I did going into 2020. So it's going to be a very transformative 2 years for you, that's starting also this month, because your opposite sign of Scorpio is in your 7th house. And so the 7th house is one-on-one partnerships, not just romantic, but any kind of partnership. So your one-on-one relationships, your business partnerships, and this new moon in that area is maybe you're seeing things in a different way in your relationships because of the way that you give to yourself first. And Uranus in your first house and your identity and the need for you to change your identity or the way you see yourself is going to directly impact the opposite house, which is the 7th house of Scorpio. And this house is deeply, deeply transformative. So it just seems like Taurus risings in general have had many death and rebirths in the form of relationships, even if you've had one partner for your whole life, or maybe you've only been in one committed relationship. It doesn't matter. It's a death and rebirth in whatever way that you feel it relates to your personal situation. But I feel that with Uranus in your first house, you're getting some kind of epiphany or aha moment that you need to break free from some limiting beliefs or some self-imposed, which is interesting because you got the 10 of Swords, and when I'm talking, it sounds like 8 of Swords energy, which is self-imposed limitations that you put on yourself. You put blinders on. But this will help you and your relationships and how you relate to the other. And again, new moons are new beginnings, they're new intentions. And having the lunar eclipse in your first house on November 19th is an ending of a cycle of something in regards to self. So the 10 of Swords talks about an ending of a cycle. And I love the way that this deck talks about the 10 of Swords and the 10 of Wands and all of the 10s is a transformation. It's like you've gone through the whole journey of the Swords, which is about our perception, about our beliefs, about our mind. And you've almost come to the end of this cycle, which is, I think, is finally, you're starting to see what needs to happen in order for you to break free of the self-limiting beliefs. Maybe you haven't started that journey yet, and maybe this new moon in Scorpio is the intention that you set. But again, the 10 of Swords is a completion of some limiting beliefs, some perceptions that maybe you've really believed to be true about yourself or the world, or how you relate to the world. And I just have to say, I said it at the beginning of this video, but I took an intentional 1 week off of Instagram, and I just realized how much I was dependent on it, and also how my perceptions of myself and my place in the world were so warped by social media. And it has so many effects on our brain and the way we think about ourselves that we don't even realize, but it's addictive for a reason. And so I'm not saying like take a social media break, but do something to help your mind and allow yourself to see things in a different way, and whatever practices that help you do that, because it's really going to help you move forward during this time. Taurus, obviously you're an earthbound energy, you're ruled by Venus, so I love that the North Node is going to be in Taurus, because I feel like a lot of us are going to be called to have more pleasure in our lives, and that's an energy that I'm ready for. So yeah, it's a big transformative time for you, Taurus. And so the archetype I got for you is the mentor, which I think is so beautiful. It's number 6 with the owl here. And I'm just going to read this from the book so that you get all of the information and guidance that you're looking for. And so if you want to take a screenshot of this, I hope that it is in focus. Let's see. Okay. The teacher, the sage, the guru. It is said that cosmic knowledge pours down on the world like a great illuminated waterfall. This can be an overwhelming force. The true teacher, though, is said to be able to hold this flow of wisdom at bay while the student sips from a focused stream. The mentor archetype has a gift for reading the room, for sensing the exact ingredient that will stimulate growth within the student, whether pleasant or painful. The mentor may appear aloof or available, harsh or tender, humorous or rigid. Their gift is to know what serves the soul. Ultimately, the mentor is in service of the greater cosmic good and aids in the elevation of consciousness. Anytime the mentor forgets this humble link and mistakes themselves for the source of enlightenment, the archetype falls into shadow. When light, focused, clear, bright, remains a student. When dark, self-serving, envious of youth, righteous, rigid. So I feel like this is asking you to be a student again and maybe seek a mentor during this time as well. During my South Node transit through my first house, I definitely went to see a lot of teachers, energy healers, astrologers, mediums to help me move through this time because I couldn't quite understand why I felt so funky. But I feel like being a student again and seeking a mentor, and obviously owls might be a really big symbol for you, animal totem, during this time of being wise and remembering that every season is meant for us to grow, and it's not that we're being punished, but that we're stepping into a higher, I hate saying this, but higher vibration. It makes me sound very new agey, but a different form of ourselves that's on the highest timeline of our capabilities. So I send you with so much love. I will see you on the lunar eclipse, and have a great new moon. Hello, Gemini rising. I just wanted to send you so much love and light because I know how difficult it's probably been for the last 18 months since May of 2020. I have a Gemini rising friend who has been going through it, and I'm your opposite sign of Sagittarius rising, so I know when the nodes of the moon go through our first house, it's always a weird vortex to be in. It's always a weird time of shifting, of dying away of certain parts and also growing into certain parts. And with the North Node being in your first house, you've been asked to go out of your comfort zone more often than not during these last 18 months. And the good news is that you're moving out of this phase, this season, at the end of this year. We're going to have one more of the Gemini Sagittarius eclipses on December 4th. But it's in the opposite sign of Sagittarius. But it will close out this chapter that you've been in for, you know, this season of moving towards your destiny in a way that's reliant and dependent on the way you look at yourself and how you show up in the world. And I love that we got the Six of Wands for you, because after this maybe challenging time, you're going to feel like the Six of Wands, which is a Leo card, and you're going to feel fired up, you're going to feel excited, and you are going to want to be seen and share what you've learned for the past 2 years with other people. You might already be doing that already. You might already have been stepping into some type of leadership role, or because you're Gemini, right? Like, your chart and your energy is ruled by Mercury, so you like to communicate the things that you've learned. You're a very curious sign, so it's an exciting time for Gemini risings, and I feel it's well deserved. And if you're watching this, or if you're on the self-growth spiritual path. And I know, and I have no doubt in my mind and in my body that you have been doing the work, and you have been doing the work in releasing a lot of, the dogmatic beliefs, Sagittarius in the South Node, and limiting beliefs specifically around partnerships, because Sagittarius rules your 7th house. But I wanted to say all of that because Scorpio rules your 6th house of your daily habits, work, health, and it could be health in the form of your body, but also your mind. It could be coworkers. It's the house of Virgo, so being of service, with your opposite house in Taurus being the 12th house, which is spirituality, the hidden realms. Uranus in your 12th house could have been giving you some pretty awakening dreams. You might have had some pretty intense dreams that gave you a lot of insight into what your purpose is on a day-to-day basis in the mundane. And the 6th house is the mundane, and the 12th house is spirituality. But the whole idea of being a human being in spiritual being in physical form is to have a balance between the 6th and the 12th house, the mundane and the spiritual. So if there was one piece of advice I would give to you during this new moon, and also the first 2 weeks of Scorpio season of November, and make sure to check out the November 2021 forecast on my podcast, and the video format is also available on YouTube, is to take care of your physical body, because the new moon in Scorpio is in your 6th house of health, opposite Uranus in your 12th house. And Taurus is a sign that rules our body, our physical. So something might be inflamed, or it flared up that you weren't aware of, or something through your dreams can show up to give you some insight. But make sure that you take your time during this season to focus on your health first and foremost. And this is going to be a focus for you for 2022, because the North Node will be in your 12th house of spirituality, of the hidden realms, of the esoteric. And with the South Node being in Scorpio in your 6th house of your day-to-day habits. So you're releasing something that's not meant for you, that's actually maybe toxic to your body and your mind, that's not allowing you to ascend to a higher spiritual place. And so the South Node is where we feel comfortable, and the North Node is where we have to get out of our comfort zone. So you might even maybe get into more physical body practices to help you to embody and be on this earthly plane as you are moving through the spiritual realms, if that makes sense. Because Taurus rules your 12th house, which is interesting, because it's almost like an oxymoron, right? Like the 12th house is ruled by Pisces and Neptune, which is the outer realms. It's like formless, but Taurus is in the embodiment form. So the more you can be in your body, the more you can be in the moment, will help you to move through your spiritual awakening per se. And I'm sure most of you have already had your massive awakenings, but I believe we don't just have one awakening, we have many awakenings. But coming from the North Node being in your 1st house of, you have a new idea of who you are and how you want to show up to this world, and now maybe for 2022 it's time to share it with others with this 6 of Wands. Okay, so for your archetype, I got the Tear, which does not surprise me after the season that you've been through. And I'm just going to read what this says, and maybe if you could take a screenshot. I hope this is focused. There you go. Okay. The Tear, morning, release the rain. Tears are droplets of letting go. Once they begin to fall, we allow the swelling tide of emotion to run its elemental course. Often the tear is what is needed in order for a conversation or situation to break into the next level of intimacy and vulnerability. Some say that tears are so powerful in softening our egos that they open up a portal to the unseen world. Through our watery eyes, the ancestors catch a glimpse of us, and we are reminded of their eternal embrace. We sense our humanity, our humility, and we allow ourselves to be held. It is likely this card appears when there is grieving yet to do, a sinking down into disappointment or despair that once acknowledged will bring a shimmer of clarity to our dewy eyes. When light, melody, melancholy, flowing through, when dark, drowning drama and murkiness. And I like this card for you because this is a season for you to truly allow to let go, to cry, to purge. Because again, what I was saying is you're ending a cycle. December 4th is the end of this rebirth of yours. So the more you can allow yourself to cry, and this is what Scorpio season's all about, the more you'll be able to burst out of your shell and show up as the Six of Wands that you truly are, the leader that you truly are. Happy new moon blessings. Hello, Cancer risings. How are you? So the card that I pulled for you is the Four of Pentacles, and I feel like this is pretty on point with the message that is for you today. So Scorpio is in your 5th house. The 5th house to me is the most fun house. It's the house of creativity, of children, your inner child, of entertainment, of romance. It's the house naturally ruled by Leo. So it's a house where you want to feel seen, heard, and where you can shine your inner child out. And I feel with this new moon in Scorpio in your 5th house, you're getting an opportunity to step out of maybe the Four of Pentacles energy and do something that makes you feel happy and creative without making it tied to how you're going to make money out of it, if this makes sense. So we all live in a world where we have to pay rent, we have to pay bills, and we oftentimes do things that will benefit our security and our way of living, which is very much Four of Pentacles energy. Four of Pentacles energy is when we finally have enough resources and in terms of financial, material, wealth and security where we feel secure. 4 is the number of security, foundation, and the shadow side of this, though, is that we can hoard and be controlling. And so with this new moon in Scorpio in your 5th house, and Scorpio is it's a very mystical, magical space too. So you can tap into your Cancerian moon, your intuition, your psychic powers to really help you to create something. And again, it's not going to have anything to do with making money out of it, but just for pure pleasure. With Uranus and Taurus in your 11th house too, it could be something in regards to playing with community, being involved in social groups, and maybe you having this idea of creating a group together with other people where you lead people through some kind of performative dance, or not performative dance, why did I say it like that? Some kind of ecstatic dance or performative arts or something that will get the community together. And I say community because Taurus rules your 11th house of groups, of gains, and this is, again, not necessarily something that you will do for money, but just out of pure pleasure, which is the 5th house. And so whatever you feel called to do, you're Cancer rising, so it's going to be something that's emotionally fulfilling for you as well. And Scorpio being your sister water sign, it's going to be something that you're passionate about. Now, the archetype that I pulled for you is the Eternal Child, which I think is so appropriate for what I just said about the 5th house. And it's another number 4. So 4-4, which the 4th house is ruled by Cancer, might be important for you. So I'm going to read this from the book, and hopefully this is in focus so you can take a screenshot if you want. Okay. The inner child, the child of joy. The eternal child is connected to the timeless, ageless, and infinite aspects of life. It is radiant and fearless and seeks joy above all else and at any cost. It struggles being bound to any aging body with physical limitations in a world that demands attention to detail and logistics. The eternal child wants to nix all rules and responsibilities and go beyond what others say is possible. It wants to return with plenty of friends. Oh my gosh. 11th house. To the land of the free, where divine wine and creativity pour from the earth and sky. We all want a sip from the well of eternal youth, and this makes the eternal child naturally popular, perhaps even famous. The eternal child glimmers. It reminds us of what is possible, what is magical about this precious life. When light, joyful, playful, accepts all magic. When dark, addicted, selfish, adrift, burns out. Okay, I just love personally when the astrology and what I've been saying matches the cards, because there were definitely key words in here that talks about the 5th house, specifically joyful, playful, perhaps even famous, because the 5th house, if you have any planets or personal planets in the 5th house, could indicate fame in some way. And joy, child, inner child. And it said it wants in return plenty of friends, which is the 11th house of Taurus. And why this is important for you is because the North Node is transiting to your 11th house of friendships, of communities. And this is something that you have to move towards. This is your invitation for the next 2 years in 2022 to 2023 is to engage more with community and friendships, because it's going to be deeply, deeply satisfying for you. And also Scorpio is, if I could give it another key word, it would be magic. So it's something that really attracts to you in a way that you can't necessarily explain. And it might not just be like creativity in the level that, you know, we think about like painting. It could be occult matters, Scorpio topics. So I hope this helped, Cancer rising, and have a beautiful new moon. Hello, my Leo risings. Hello, my beautiful lions. So this new moon is happening in your 4th house of family, of roots, of ancestors, of home. This is an intensely, how do I want to say this? Like nurturing, comforting, deeply personal house. It's the lowest point of our chart. So that's why it indicates our personal, intimate lives with our family, our ancestry. It's how we feel safe and secure. So with the new moon being here opposite your 10th house in Taurus of career, Uranus being there, you might have some kind of epiphany about work-life balance, of how much you want to work versus how much you want to be with your family. And if there was a way for you to balance these two. So you're a fixed sign, and I kind of already gave this spiel to Taurus, but this is a really, how do I say this? This is a time for fixed signs to change and to transform. And fixed signs aren't known for this, because fixed signs are the ones that sustain energy. And for Leo, you're the sign that keeps the fire going, the hearth going. You are ruled by the sun, so your ability to shine in all areas of your life is very important to you. And the shadow side of Leo is only taking yourself into consideration without the greater collective or the other. But when you are fully in the high vibrational expression of Leo is to step into your heart space, to be the spokesperson and the leader for the greater collective, which is indicated by Aquarius in your 7th house of partnerships. And you've definitely had an activation in that house with Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, starting a 30-year cycle together in your 7th house of partnerships, and then Saturn and Jupiter now moving forward. You've had lots of lessons in the way you interact with others, specifically a greater community. But with you, Aquarius is in your 7th house of one-on-one partnerships. And I say that because this is going to be an ongoing theme for you, is to really break through how you see yourself and your identity in regards to others and how that reflects into your life. And I'm sure all Leos don't want to be on an island by themselves. They are the leaders that we need. They are the people who, again, what I was saying with Leo energy, you sustain the hearth of the fire, you sustain the energy. We need Leos to be in their heart spaces, but I see a lot of lower expressions of Leo energy where it's a lot of narcissism and in the ego. So I think collectively, for better or for worse, Leos have been going through some kind of transformation in which they have to start doing some self-reflection. And if you're watching this, as I always say, you are on that path because you are curious about spirituality and how these celestial bodies affect us personally. And so I don't know personally if you've had some outer realm physical manifestations of like people telling you these things, or things in work have been reflected back to you, but the people who are in our lives are always mirrors for what we need to see within us. So you got the 4 of Swords, which is Jupiter in Libra. And this card reflects a figure that is getting his coffin ready, or her coffin or their coffin ready for a retreat inward, a retreat to rest and meditate and to get into this yin energy. And Scorpio is the yin, it's a water sign. It's the yin expression of Mars energy. The yang Mars energy is Aries, but Scorpio is deeply feminine, goes within, allows things to flow, allows things to unfold and decompose. And so I think for this new moon in Scorpio, you're being asked to go within. I mean, this is happening in your 4th house. Possibly going on a retreat on your own, like a solo retreat, or going to an ashram, or going somewhere by yourself to do some self-reflection of what you want to experience in your life, because the 4th and 10th house are angular houses. They're very significant. And yours are in fellow fixed signs. So your angular houses are not only important for your life, but yours are in fixed signs. So in order for you to create real change in your life, you yourself have to change. You yourself have to do some self-reflection. And I think that's only going to happen with this 4 of Swords energy when you go within. So I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life, but the new moon in Scorpio in your 4th house is an opportunity for you to, go inward. Start a new cycle in regards to how you want to show up to your family. Maybe you're thinking about moving to a new home. You're doing some ancestral work, or you're trying to discover some hidden things about your family or your ancestry or where you came from. And the 10th house being the highest point of your chart, I think you're being reflected back of things that need to be changed that maybe you've known about, or you subconsciously knew about, but you were putting them off because of work. You're like, I'm too busy, I'm working. And so the archetype I got for you is the heart, which I think is so reflective of Leo energy. You are the heart. You are ruled by the heart. And I love when I see this card. So I'm going to read this to you. And hopefully this is in focus so you could take a screenshot. Let's see if I can get this any better. Okay. The home. Oh my gosh. The home. What I was saying about the 4th house. And the 4 of Swords is also the 4. So it's all about foundations here. The center, the throne. It is possible from an imaginal point of view to sense the heart as a place. Either we are there within the realm of expansion and compassion, or we have drifted somewhere else. There is no in-between. It is common for us to leave this archetypical center without realizing it, as the world, with its seductive twists and turns, offers us frequent departure. We may even become a stranger to the landscape of the heart, leaving it vacant for long stretches of time. The seat of the heart is often reclaimed by nature, music, dance, and the presence of children or animals. This card encourages us to move past the layers of life's tangles and knots and enter the wild and sacred center of the self. The most precious throne in the galaxy is waiting your return. When light, expansive, knowing, gentle clarity. When dark, fraught, tangled, and betrayal. Wow, I think that's a beautiful invitation for you to retreat and go back into your heart space. Ask yourself what is the most important thing in your life and start creating more space for it. Thank you, Leo risings. Hi, Virgo risings. So for this new moon in Scorpio, it's happening in your third house of the mind, of your community, of siblings, of social media, of your smaller community, and the people that are around you in your near vicinity. So the opposite house for you is the ninth house of Taurus. And the ninth house talks about, well, both the third and the ninth house talk about learning, but the third house is something that's new kind of learning, elementary learning, like starting something new, whereas the ninth house is higher learning, spirituality, higher education. It can mean cross-cultural travel and expanding your mind in a certain way. It's the house that's naturally ruled by Sagittarius in the ninth and Gemini in the third. So the new moon in Scorpio in your third house, opposite Uranus and Taurus in your ninth, is possibly you want to learn something new, and this is going to help you in the way of either teaching something or showing up in a community kind of way. If ever there was a time that you were interested in making more of a presence on social media, this would be the time. So Virgo, you are ruled by Mercury as well, and you are a sign that is the natural helper, somebody who is of service. So in dealing with Scorpion topics like death, rebirth, transformation, the occult, mysticism, astrology, you're on a quest for understanding life in its deepest form. So the new moon in Scorpio in your third house could be having an intention of learning something new, of starting your social media presence, or something maybe like even through travel, which is short distance travel or a long distance travel indicated by Uranus and in the in the ninth. It gives you this awakening and this I'm trying to find the right word. Not awakening, but opening. An opening for you to explore something new that will help you be of service. As Virgo rising, that's what you are known for. And this is indicated by the Fool card here, which is ruled by Uranus. It's taking a risk and knowing that the universe will catch you. It's starting something new. It's starting your hero's journey. It's starting to break free of something old in order for you to start something new. And Uranus transiting your ninth house in Taurus for the majority of the last couple of years, but specifically being squared to your sixth house of Aquarius, it might deal with tensions between your work, your daily habits, as indicated by Saturn in Aquarius in your sixth house, squaring Uranus in Taurus in your ninth. Your quest for mastership and understanding a topic. and your third house, which is all about, again, your mind too. So you might be setting some new intentions for how you're going to show up to your community or your work, or something that I get this feeling that Virgo rising, you're on the quest for breaking free of something that has held you back from showing up in a bigger way, and more specifically in a way that you get to communicate your thoughts, and you get to be the teacher and the master, but also the student as well. And so the archetype I got for you is the Destroyer. So I'm going to read this from the book, and here it is if you want to take a screenshot. The savage, the unexpected, the rejected. And the unexpected is really what this Fool card is all about. This is Uranus. The Destroyer, the final of the 3 archetypes in the trio of existence, has necessary yet painful work to do in the world. Culturally, we have an aversion to endings, and we hang on to permanence as a signifier of success. Yet the Destroyer pulls the rug out from underneath relationships, jobs, homes, and all forms of security. It's the part of us that wants things to end. Its painful orientation is to uncover our true purpose. The Destroyer does not let us linger long in comforts, as it knows not much happens in that realm. With this piercing eyes, it seeks out stagnancy from a distance, and the rest becomes history. In the old myths, this is the moment when heads begin to roll, the ground opens up, and castles crumble. Hold on for the ride. The Destroyer has arrived. When light, swift and precise, blows that redirect our life, when dark, self-destruction, negativity, unwillingness to rebuild. And this is the theme, not just for you, Virgo rising, but for us collectively, is that we are either creating or destroying. And right now we're all in this destroying phase, where things that kept us stagnant, things that kept us feeling trapped, we're intentionally destroying those things. And this could be in the form of, like it says in this card, relationships, jobs, homes, and all forms of security, in order for us to start this new journey, this new path with the Fool here. And again, I get this feeling that you want to start something new in terms of how you show up through your community, and also some sort of mastership, right? And you want to share that, because the 3rd house is about sharing, and so is the 9th actually. And the daily habits that you have for yourself are that you can break free of, that keep you stagnant, will really help you. And these are all fixed signs, so it's going to take intentional destroying in order for you to get to this Fool energy. Thank you, Virgo risings. Happy new moon. Hi, Libra risings. So we just came out of Libra season, and Mercury is still in Libra at this time. Mars just entered Scorpio, and so we have Mars and the Sun and the Moon in your 2nd house of resources, of value, of your worth. And what a place to have Scorpio, because this is like a transformative energy where you really have to keep going through this death and rebirth process of how you see yourself and your worth and what you value. So it's as within, so without. So it's how you value yourself, how you see your worth, what you believe you are worth, how much money you feel like you are worthy of, but then also in turn that will dictate how you see without, what you value, what you put your money towards, and what you think about exchange and resources, because the 2nd and 8th house, Scorpio and Taurus, talks about exchange. Scorpio is more about energetic exchange, whereas Taurus is more about monetary exchange. And so this is a very, very interesting house to have the 2nd house, because the 2nd house talks about, which is ruled by Taurus, what we value about ourselves and of money and worth. And opposite the 8th house in Taurus, which is about other people's money, sex, death, taxes, exchange in a very Taurus, in a very monetary, physical way. So it's so interesting because this is, Scorpio is such a, it's a almost a psychosomatic, subconscious energy. It's not something that you can necessarily have tangible things about, and it's even hard for me to communicate because my Mercury is in Pisces actually. So I feel and I know, like, claircognizant more than I can explain into words. I feel the English language is very limiting in the way that I feel and the feelings that I'm feeling as I'm tuning into your energy. But you went through this whole reflection time with Mercury in retrograde in Libra in your first house of relating to the other, because Libra is, you are a sign ruled by Venus like Taurus. You relate to the other, you have balance, you have harmony. And the Ace of Swords coming out here is actually the perfect indication of a massive shift of perception and perspective, and almost like this like intuitive download and spiritual guidance from spirit. All the aces in the deck talk about an offering that you might not necessarily have earned, but it's a gift from spirit, and it's up to you to take this opportunity. So I think with all of the activation that happened in Libra in your first house of identity and the way that you see yourself and your perceptions about your way of being in this world is actually helping you to integrate, because Scorpio energy is about integration and merging with spirit, is helping you with your lessons of Scorpio season and also the upcoming eclipses. And I say this because the focus for 2022 for you is the North Node in the 8th house and the South Node being in Scorpio in your 2nd house. So you're releasing some subconscious, some shadow, some fear around money and value and what you are valuing yourself in, and moving more out of your comfort zone to the North Node in Taurus, that you do have worthiness and you do have the support of other people, but in order for you to be magnetized and have that law of attraction and the law of vibration and resonance, in order for you to attract the resources that you need from other people, you need to release certain things, self-limiting beliefs that you have around money and of value and of yourself. So this new moon in Scorpio really is the catalyst and the beginning towards this discovery for yourself. And I have to say, I have my South Node natally in my 2nd house, but in Capricorn, and my North Node in the 8th house in Cancer. And it's a lifelong journey for me to release a lot of the self-limiting beliefs that I was taught by society of what money and worth is. But for you, this is just going to be a 2-year transit unless you have this natally in your chart. So it's going to be an invitation for you to really go to the depths of your underworld, your scorpionic habits and practices. So leaning into the occult and mysticism, which I think collectively we are all being invited to do, specifically also when Jupiter moves back into Pisces at the end of December, and Pisces is your 6th house of day-to-day routines and habits. These habits and day-to-day routines are going to help you to release some of these old beliefs and old stagnant beliefs that are keeping you from really truly forming into the Venusian god or goddess that you are, because you know Taurus is your co-ruler of Venus, and Taurus is in your 8th house of transformation. So this tells me that you're moving into a more you're moving into a period of your life of really valuing yourself and really seeing yourself in a different way. So the card I pulled for you is number 4 with the Eternal Child. And another group got this as well. I believe it was the, oh man, Cancer rising group. Okay, so here it is from the book, and hopefully you can screenshot that. Okay. The eternal child, the inner child, the child of joy. The eternal child is connected to the timeless, ageless, and infinite aspects of life. It is radiant and fearless and seeks joy above all else and at any cost. It struggles beyond being bound to any aging body with physical limitations in a world that demands attention to detail and logistics. The eternal child wants to nix all rules and responsibilities and go beyond what others say is possible. It wants to return with plenty of friends to the land of the free, where divine wine and creativity pour from the earth and sky. We all want a sip from the well of eternal youth, and this makes the eternal child naturally popular, perhaps even famous. The eternal child glimmers. It reminds us of what is possible, what is magical about this precious life. When light, joyful, playful, accepts all magic, and when dark, addicted, selfish, adrift, and burns out. And I also think this is an invitation to really tap into your Venusian energy, as is said, like what you love to do as a child, your inner child, and having joy, because I think that's really going to help you move through this scorpionic depths of the underworld. Now, we're not meant to bypass that, right? But we have tools that we can use to move through some of the denser energies. And I believe that we are simultaneously healing our past while creating the future that we want to live in. So I hope that helped, Libra rising. Happy new moon. Hi, Scorpio risings. So you are the star of the season, of the show. And for all of you Scorpios who are Scorpio suns, happy birthday. And wow, there's so much to say about what you are, almost the threshold and the portal that you're walking into. And I must have said this in the full moon in Aries video, but you're going to experience the South Node transiting your first house for the majority of 2022 to 2023. And as somebody who has just experienced the South Node in my first house, I'm going to help you and be your guide walking through this period of your life, because you're going to feel like you're entering like this weird vortex of energy where it's not going to make any sense, but when you're in it, it's going to feel like you're not yourself. The things that you used to like, the foods you used to like, the things that you used to do, and your habits are probably going to change. And actually, so I have my South Node in Sagittarius, which is my first house, and the last eclipse in this is on December 4th, so a month from now. And I already feel different, and the views I have about myself and the world around me have completely changed from the beginning of 2022. So I can say optimistically that it's going to be so beneficial for you, especially if you're on your path, whatever path you are on, of self-discovery, of self-development, of spiritual growth, that you are being called into like an initiation of a higher timeline. And in order for you to get there, you're going to have to go through this very scorpionic death and rebirth. I feel like the South Node in your first house is very much the death and rebirth transformation phase. And you being a Scorpion yourself, I think you're used to this energy, but it's going to be very more apparent because your sense of self is going to almost like die away in the form of like burning away, but then it's going to regenerate over time and you're going to feel so much better. But in the meantime, you're going to be like, what the heck is going on? But don't worry, because I will help you. I'll be your friend throughout this whole thing, and I will be guiding you along these monthly and bi-weekly moon cycles. So I just wanted to say that first. So this new moon which is very much this initiation into this time, into this portal, is happening in your first house, opposite Taurus in your 7th. So Taurus and Uranus in your 7th is like, you've been getting now with the Saturn and Uranus squares all year, you've been getting some kind of tension between your 4th house of home and your 7th house of partnership. So a lot of you might have moved when Saturn and Jupiter went into your 4th house back in December 21st, 2020. So a lot of you might have moved homes. You might have moved closer to your family or away from your family. You might have discovered things about your lineage, about your ancestry, about your family. But something big happened and is going to unfold for the next 30 years during this Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. And with Saturn and Jupiter going forward now in your 4th house, things are moving forward in your home life and the roots and your sense of security and your well-being. But you know, with the 4th house being in Aquarius and all this activation in Aquarius, you might have felt a little, you know, your foundation being rocked a little bit. And then with your 7th house, Uranus and Taurus, how you relate to the other, your one-on-one relationships, your partnerships. You might have had a lot of epiphanies about yourself through your partnerships, as your partner is usually the mirror to yourself. And so, especially this new moon in Scorpio, so check your ascendant, because this new moon is happening at 12 degrees. If you're around 3 degrees, so 9 degrees or 15 degrees of Scorpio on your ascendant, this could have a huge ripple effect of your sense of being and how you relate to the other as well. And this awakening moment, this aha moment might be reflected through your partner and somebody that you work with or your actual partner in life. And it's going to force you to look inward and almost check yourself in your innermost feelings about your identity and your intimacy with yourself and the other, because the 1st and 7th house are our sense of self as related to the other and vice versa. So this is like really, I feel for you, and you might have already been feeling these energies, a portal for you to step into, an awakening moment, so that in 2 years' time you're going to be completely different and in the best way possible. So the card I got for you is the 3 of Wands, and I love the 3 of Wands because the 3 for me is a number of expansion, of creativity, and the Wands is passion, it's desire, it's our visionary, I guess our visionary ideas for our life. And the 3 of Wands talks about exploration, talks about expansion, abundance on all levels, and it really talks about traveling as well. So if you had ideas of traveling, maybe going on a pilgrimage of some kind, not that that's indicated anywhere in your chart, but just with the 3 of Wands coming out, this could give you some more clarity about yourself. And being a Scorpio rising, right, you are ruled by Mars and Pluto. It's a very intense energy. And then the archetype I got for you is the vow. Wow, talk about 7th house with this vow here. And I love that it's dark, but with the dove above. So I'm just going to read this. And you can take a screenshot of this if you want to read on further. Let me just make sure this is, make sure this is in focus. Okay. The promise, the oath, the contract. When the vow is spoken, the air shifts. Karmic ties are formed and destiny tilts on its axis. Our words and intentions have immense power. There is a reason the great mythic stories of our past often include the recitation of oaths and the mixing of drops of blood as a mark of union. The tricky part is that reciting the vow, no matter how casually, activates the eternal and unseen forces of the world. The ancestors bear witness. The laws of nature respond. These promises cannot be unsaid or forgotten, so breaking them can leave lingering complexities and loose ends. This card calls us to acknowledge the vow we are living by, consciously or unconsciously, and either recommit to it or create a ritual that signifies its closure. You've been underestimating the power of your promises. When light, bearing witness to the shift toward destiny. When dark, unconscious vows, unkept promises, messy karma. Wow, can we talk about the portal that I just was speaking about? This portal of going towards your destiny and the promise. So actually this new moon, you are being called to step into places that you've never stepped into before. You are traveling towards a sense of being, and a way that you see yourself, and the way that you see yourself as related to this world is totally changing. And the vow and the intention that you're setting is that you are committed to this journey. That's super powerful, Scorpio rising. Thank you so much. Happy new moon. Hello, Sag risings. Hello, fellow Sag risings. You all know that I have a special place in my heart for you because I'm a fellow Sag rising myself. And I think because of that, I feel I can share more about my own experiences and how maybe it can help you as well. So, Sag rising, this is happening in our 12th house, Scorpio, which I find so interesting because as a Sagittarius rising, people often see us as the outgoing, optimistic of the signs, super fun, expansive. But then we have our 12th house of Scorpio, which is super deep, right? But I think that just lends to why we're so optimistic and so expansive, because the 12th house is all about the past. It's about releasing, purging, and just letting go of karma and however you want to define karma for yourself. But karma to me just means letting go of patterns and letting go of cycles that don't serve us. So the new moon in Scorpio is happening at 12 degrees opposite Uranus in our 6th house of Taurus. And this is like a beginning, like I've said with many groups, this is like a preview of what we're going to experience during eclipse season, and then also throughout 2021, because the North Node is going to be in the 6th house of daily habits, of routines, of health, opposite Scorpio, with our South Node being there. So it's going to be a lot of releasing of old stuff, old karma, old past, things that have been hidden. And with Uranus in Taurus opposing the new moon and the sun and the moon in Scorpio, some things might come to our awareness that have been hidden. I would suggest during this time to take care of your physical body, because Uranus in the 6th would make our bodies more inflamed and more, I guess, just, because Uranus is also the nervous system, and the 6th house talks about the body, and the 12th house is the hidden realm. It's the things that we can't see with our eyes. So I would suggest to take it easy, do a lot of breath work, meditation. The 12th house also, whenever it turns into Scorpio season, because Mars just went into Scorpio, then we have the sun and the moon, and then Mercury is going to go here. So we have a loaded house where it's all about turning inward, and almost like, the fact that like you only see my hands, and I'm like, not that you probably will miss my face, but I really feel this time of going within and not necessarily being more outward. And that's the time for Scorpio season. Every Scorpio season I go on a pilgrimage. A couple years ago I studied yoga in India, and I lived in an ashram. Last year I was in Tulum by myself, and it's always been a time for me to just be by myself, to be quiet, and to journal, and to do a lot of spiritual, occult, mystical things. And it's a time that I regard as being magical in order for us to get ready for Sagittarius season, which is November 22nd, I believe, when the sun moves into our 1st house. Right now, Venus is in our 1st house. conjoined to the South Node, and it's Venus with the South Node in Sagittarius is really valuing our spiritual practices. It's not really about the material realm, but releasing what we feel like we think we need and what we value, but more leaning towards spiritual practices, because Sagittarius is a very spiritual sign. And I feel this time with the Six of Pentacles coming out, is being able to be in our body, because I find it very significant that the 6 came out and Taurus is in our 6th house, and this is a Taurus card, the 6 of Pentacles. I think it's about giving to yourself, ourselves, nourishing your body, taking care of your body, going slowly. Taurus is a very slow moving energy, and that's not necessarily something that Sagittarius is accustomed to. Sagittarius is a fire sign and likes to be spontaneous and is a little erratic in its energy, and I'm not trying to drag us because this is my energy as well, and my sun is in Aries, so I'm always like spontaneous and on the move, and during Scorpio season is when I find myself moving very slowly and being intentional with who I spend my time with and energy. And this to me also talks about energy exchange, talks about giving and receiving equally. 6 is the number of Venus, which is harmony, and 6 is the number that talks about, yeah, balance and harmony. And I think this is a time to give to yourself. Again, we don't know what aha moment and awakening things that Uranus and Taurus is going to show us from the hidden realms. And I can't say, because it depends on what personal planets you have around 12 degrees of Scorpio or Uranus or any of the fixed signs. Personally, I have Jupiter in Scorpio, my moon and Venus in Aquarius, so I do have some fixed sign energy in my chart. So I'm just personally curious as to what this will show me. I can't really say good or bad, but whatever it is, the truth that you need to see is going to help you move forward out of this stagnancy, right? Because for everybody, it's about liberating ourselves from stagnancy, from feeling trapped. And Uranus and Taurus, I think, is very significant because Taurus is such a fixed sign, and so is Scorpio to some extent. So it's going to show us something that we need to release. But this is really a time, and I love that it's with the clock as well at 6 o'clock, and it's about time that, get it? It's time for Sagittarians to slow down, to be patient. You know, Temperance is our card, which talks about tempering our energy. And with all of these roses, it really does remind me of passion and being just patient with what we want our lives to become after these eclipses end in our sign, in the South Node. And then the archetype that I received is the kiss. Ooh. So I'm going to read that. And you can pause this to read, do a screenshot. Let me see if this is focusing here. Okay. The touch, the chemistry, the sex. Ooh, sex magic. Before a first kiss, the air is electrified. Each breath is alive with possibility and magic. What will their lips be like? Their tongue? Do they want me in return? The archetypical energy of the kiss is a heightened sensation of merging with other, of letting in what was moments ago separate, to become one. It is risky but beautiful business. These moments forever change us as we move past the solitary self toward union and acceptance. This card suggests true intimacy is around the corner, which requires bravery and surrender. When the kiss takes a non-human form, it may be experienced as touching the sacred, hearing a whisper, or being graced by a divine being. You will recognize the presence of the kiss by cold chills and an awakening of the heart. When light, sensual expressiveness, merging, inviting, when dark, neediness, pressure, dominance, disrespect. And that's one thing that I forgot to mention about the 12th house is you might be having prophetic dreams, especially opposite Uranus. You might be having lucid dreams, astral traveling. And you know, the North Node has been in Gemini in the 7th house. So like with Scorpio being an intimate sign, I also feel like if you have been wanting to call in an intimate partner, you know, when the nodes change, it might be a new beginning for you. So just to keep that in mind as well. But I love you so much, Sag Risings. I know I'm biased, but I hope you have a beautiful new moon and talk to you soon. Bye. Hi, Capricorn Rising. First of all, I just want to say that my heart is with you. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, I mean, you have not been going through an easy time the last couple years, probably since 2017, 2018. And it's something that I say in every video, I think, because we've had so many activations within Capricorn. And, you know, you still have Pluto transiting your first house. So you have had a major, and that's just saying it very lightly, you had an overload of energies in your first house, which is your identity, of death and rebirth and transformation. And this is not even related to Scorpio season, which we'll get into it in a second. But I just want to say how sympathetic I am to you because in 2018 to 2020, you had the South Node transiting your first house in Capricorn, which I'm currently going through. And I know how destabilizing it can be when you're transforming the ways in which you've thought about the world and yourself and how you move through this world, and then having Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter in your first house, kind of, how would I say, like blowing all of that shit up, and then having to regenerate and reform your sense of identity. As an earth sign, that could be very destabilizing because the ways in which you've seen this world was through very traditional values, right? Capricorn to me is like the old daddy energy. You do this, you get this. You do A, you get B. 1 + 1 = 2. But being ruled by Saturn, you have been like unfolding the structures in which you structure your life and the way that you see your life. And you might have felt a little bit of relief when Saturn and Jupiter moved into your second house of Aquarius, and Pluto still being there until 2023. It has one more year in your first house. And with, you know, the nodes of the moon changing into Scorpio, which is your 11th house, and Taurus in your 5th house, you're definitely ending a phase. You're definitely ending a phase of this very tumultuous redefining of who you are. And if you are going through your Saturn return and you happen to be a Capricorn rising, my sympathies are with you. If you are ruled by Saturn in any way, it's like, yeah, we definitely had a lot of Capricornian energy because we are removing the structures of our lives from the way they used to be to the new. And being ruled by Saturn, and Saturn being in Aquarius, you've had to look at things in a different way. You've had to simultaneously integrate the lessons from the past into the future. And so I really wanted to say that. So the 11th house in Scorpio is about groups, it's about friendships, it's about community. And the South Node is going to transit there. So you might be actually reforming, not reforming, I would say the year of 2022, you might be losing a lot of friends, or you might be detaching yourself from certain groups that no longer are in resonance to who you are now, because who you are now is so different from who you were back in 2018 when the South Node was in your first house. And even now, you might be even different from how you were from 2018, like I was saying. So the North Node being in Taurus in your first house is this activation of creativity and of possibly even gaining some kind of fame, and something new is emerging from the nodes changing into your 5th house and 11th house. But what that will require of you is to release old groups and affiliations that you've had, because who we are is defined by who we surround ourselves with. And I think when you surround yourself with people who support you and your ideas and can really help you and nourish you, it will help you to be more creative in your 5th house. And you might have this epiphany at this time, this new moon in your 11th house in Scorpio opposing Uranus and Taurus in your 5th house. You might have this intention, this new beginning, because this is the Fool card, of maybe forming new groups, wanting new communities, wanting new friendships. The 11th house is also a house of gains. So whatever projects, whatever efforts you've been putting in the past, you might be receiving and reaping those rewards with this new moon now in Scorpio, and this activation of Scorpio, with Mars being in this 11th house as well. And Mars is the planet of action. It's happy in its sign, home sign of Scorpio. So let's see, and you just came from the 10th house of Libra. So you definitely were re-examining relationships. You were examining how you related to the other in terms of your career. It might have been a time that you decided to collaborate more, and now moving into the 11th house, you're actually contemplating whether these relationships are for your highest good. And I love this because the archetype that we received here for you is the One. And I believe you can take this as it resonates. I feel like this is the one where you merge with yourself and you feel confident with yourself. Because after all of these huge transits in your first house, you definitely have formed into a new part of yourself, a new appreciation for yourself. And let's see. So you could take a screenshot of this if you want to read it more. If you can see this. I'm doing this knowing full well that you might not even be able to read what it says because the type form is so small. Okay, but I'll read it to you. Non-duality, one love, unus mundus. Our ability to experience this archetype firsthand is limited. It comes in brief and potent moments that we are left to savor for a lifetime. The One is both the energy that unites us all beings and our capacity to sense this intimate union. This archetype eludes us most of our lives, appearing as a concept in a distant galaxy. Yet when we are in the midst of its power, a solemn reverence falls across all the land. We glimpse ourselves in the vastness of all consciousness and are neither small nor large within that field. We are neither important nor unimportant. All duality fades away, and we are left with what it is. The precious knowing that life is a gift, and we are both the giver and the receiver of this fortune. Oh my gosh. When light serves, loves, accepts, resonates. When dark ignores, omits, and excludes. Wow, I ultimately believe that this is all about your love for yourself and all of the shit that you've been through, and this huge portal for a new beginning. I send you so many blessings, Capricorn rising. Happy new moon. Hi, Aquarius rising. Now, the Scorpio new moon is happening in your 10th house of career, your legacy. And it's so interesting to have Scorpio in your 10th house because I feel like this is a very magnetic part of your chart. It is the highest point of your chart. So being an Aquarius rising, you are already very out of the box thinker, you're very future forward thinking, and having this configuration is actually very lucky because you can see beyond what people have done before and be very future forward thinking actually. And so the opposite sign is your 4th house in Taurus, which talks about your roots, your family, ancestry, how you feel safe and secure. And Uranus being in Taurus in this area of your life, you might have had some kind of shakeups and being asked to have some work-life balance with the Taurus and the Scorpio axes of the 4th and 10th house. And I say this because, again, this is more of a invitation towards themes to come for the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus, which is happening in your 4th house of family, roots again. And then with 2022, with the North Node moving into your 4th house and the South Node in your 10th house. It's interesting because just like Leo rising, these are your angular houses, which are very important for our lives. And your angular houses are fixed signs. So it's harder for you, I wouldn't say harder, but it's going to be more of a conscious, intentional effort to make shifts and changes when it is in regards to home and family versus your career. So this is like a very big topic that you're going to be invited to contemplate going forward, meaning the South Node being in Scorpio in your 10th house is releasing maybe some ideas you had about your career and moving more towards family and your roots and ancestry. And this is something that you want to do actually. This is something that you're destined to because the nodes of the moon talk about fate and destiny. And the new moon here is maybe you're actually like you have an epiphany that maybe you want to quit your job or you have like bigger desires of your legacy in terms of, hey, maybe I want to focus more time on my family and maybe I want to create a legacy for my family. That has really nothing to do with building an empire in terms of the traditional sense, but maybe I want to redefine what that means for me and my family because Scorpio and Taurus talk about exchange. And maybe you want to start a family business, start a family legacy. But family and career are very intertwined for you, specifically on this new moon. And then the full moon lunar eclipse on November 19th in Taurus, you're ending a cycle, you're ending a chapter while simultaneously starting something new. And so what we have for you here is the 3 of Pentacles. And I love the way that this card depicts the 3 of Pentacles because this figure is watering these skulls or these seeds that have been planted a long time ago. And now the sprouts are coming up. And the 3 of Pentacles talks about teamwork, about collaboration. And so whatever new seeds you're planting for your career in, your 10th house, consider working with other people, consider collaborating. But also what I'm getting is that seeds that you've planted a long time ago in terms of your career and what you want to accomplish in terms of legacy are now starting to take root. And Saturn and Jupiter moving forward in your 1st house as you feel like this is possible again. You're gaining some momentum, you're gaining some speed. And with Jupiter and Pisces moving into your 2nd house of finances and value and worth and money at the end of December is you're going to start reaping these rewards. You're going to start seeing the seeds that you planted a while ago starting to take fruit. And the archetype I received for you was the one which was the same archetype as Capricorn, but that doesn't surprise me because you both share Saturn as your ruler. Your modern ruler is Uranus, which is in Taurus at this moment. But I find it so interesting because it's been such a huge focus of Capricorn and Aquarius energies the last couple of years, specifically moving from Capricorn to Aquarius, which shows me about moving from the past to the future. So let's talk about the 1. And hopefully you can read this. I don't know if this is gonna focus. Here we go. Okay, the 1. Non-duality, one love, unus mundus. Our ability to experience this archetype firsthand is limited. It comes in brief and potent moments that are left to savor for a lifetime. The 1 is both the energy that unites all living beings and our capacity to sense this intimate union. This archetype eludes us most of our lives, appearing as a concept in distant galaxy. Yet when we are in the midst of its power, a solemn reverence falls across all the land. We glimpse ourselves in the vastness of all consciousness and are neither small nor large within that field. We are neither important nor unimportant. All duality fades away and we are left with what is, the precious knowing that life is a gift and we are both the giver and the receiver of this fortune. When light serves, loves, accepts, resonates. When dark ignores, omits, and excludes. It's exactly what I was kind of feeling, like all the efforts that you've been putting in and all the seeds that you've planted are definitely going to reap your rewards. And I think you're one of the signs that, you're one of the fixed signs out of all of them that is more apt to change because you are forward, future forward thinking energy, and you are, I would say if Aquarius was about a fixed nature, it's more fixated on moving forward for the future versus your other fixed sign friends who are a little bit more fixed in not so great ways, but you know, fixed energy is important because they hold the energy, and I think Aquarians are necessary because they hold the vision for the future. So that's all I have for you, Aquarius risings. Happy new moon! Hi, Pisces rising. Last but not least, here you are. Thank you for being patient. So Scorpio is happening in your 9th house of mastership, of cross-cultural travel, of learning, of higher learning, spirituality. And having Scorpio in the 9th house is a very deeply transformative place for you to learn, especially learn outside of your home environment, because the 9th house talks about foreign travel. It also talks about being a teacher, of mastership, of being a student of something, of higher learning, like getting your master's or learning something of a higher degree. And in your opposing house of the 3rd house, which is more about like elementary learning and being almost like a page energy, like being a student, a new student to a new topic. And Uranus in this house opposing the new and sun, the new moon and the sun. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words because you're the last sign and I've been doing this for 3 hours. Is you might have some kind of epiphany that you want to learn something more. And I want to say that I'm actually very excited for you, Pisces rising, because you have Neptune transiting your 1st house, which might have made things a little foggy for you, depending on your natal placements and also where you have the nodes, right? So for some of you, you might have felt pretty foggy. For some of you, might be having some really mystical experiences. And with Jupiter moving into your 1st house, and it's going to be, Jupiter and Neptune are going to be conjunct on April 12th, 2022. Mark that on your calendar in your 1st house. You want to see what degree or any activations with personal planets, because it's going to be an expansive time for you. You're going to see yourself and the world in such a different way, in almost like, you're like Aquarius in the way that you're so expansive and you see things in a different way, but in a more spiritual and in a more artistic and Neptunian way, which I'm really excited to see all the Pisces risings, what they're going to create in the next year in 2022, because I really believe with anybody with Pisces placements, it's going to be a renaissance. And Pisces, people who have Pisces placements, especially if you have a stellium, is going to make us see things in a different way, in a very spiritual, artistic way. So I say that because I feel like this new moon in Scorpio in your 9th house, you're going to be asked to learn something, be asked to go under some kind of apprenticeship, or really learn something deeper so that you can fully master an area of your life. And I feel like it's something in regards to spirituality or the occult or mysticism as signified by Scorpio. And the Knight of Pentacles, usually I would see this as like a slow moving knight, right? Taking the time to learn something, taking the time to really, I feel like Pisces rising, if you can like take the next year to fully learn something, okay, maybe not a year, but like the Knight of Pentacles is slow. So something that you take time in, something that you build over time is really going to help you in what you're creating for the future. And for some reason, I feel like this is for the collective. This is for the collective at large. And the archetype I got for you is the crone, which I find to be so on point with the energy that I'm feeling for you. It's like all this wisdom and all this knowledge, especially since you have your 12th house is ruled by Aquarius, which is like future forward thinking, right? You're getting a lot of downloads from your dreams and from astral traveling possibly, and really allowing that to solidify and integrate into your physical experience so that you can be the crone. And I think your wisdom is needed going forward. So I'm just going to read the crone here for you. The witch, the old woman, the sage. The crone has seen it all. Nothing frightens or surprises her. She is the final manifestation in the feminine trifecta of maiden, mother, crone. In her long life, Knight of Pentacles. She's witnessed endless cycles of death, sex, failure, rebirth, conflict, and regeneration, giving her the ability to rise above the world of duality. She laughs at notions of good or bad, right or wrong, as she has seen the earth churning, smoldering, taking life and giving life. The crone energy accepts everything in, devouring beauty and suffering with some same mouth, using their energy to reveal hidden secrets and knowledge. Her energy resides in all of us, though it is feared by most for its power and unconventional relationship with death and the macabre. Awakening the crone is dangerously rich and unapologetically magic. When light, magic, clairvoyant, psychic, intuitive, wise. When dark, vindictive, bitter, isolated, and ostracized. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm filming this on Halloween on October 31st when the veil is super, super thin. And this is the season of the witch, of the crone, as depicted by this energy. And 9th house in Scorpio, I feel like maybe you're getting into magic. Maybe you're getting into clairvoyance or the clairs or psychic abilities and using that to help people transmute the death into the light. And this is something that you're going to be committed to for the long term. Again, mastership. And because this isn't something that's just like a season, right? This is something that you are committing your life to. And I don't mean to say like you have to be committed to this to the lifetime if you don't want to, but being a healer, being a witch, being somebody who helps people is not just an initiation and then that's it. It's a lifelong journey. It's a way of living that is beyond just certifications. So again, I think Pisces, you are naturally psychic, naturally intuitive, and if you can maybe make a more solid commitment towards building these gifts, it can be really helpful for you. And this is again something that you're walking into with the nodes changing into Taurus and Scorpio moving into 2022. So thank you, Pisces rising, and thank you for all of you who've made it this far. If you decided to watch all of them, I send you so many blessings and see you for the lunar eclipse in